Thank you very much for a wonderful welcome, Ashifa and Varsha. Thank you very much. I'm Beulah, Dr. Beulah Emmanuel. As you said, I'm into training the prison officers of this country for the past 21 years. So, my experience with the prison officers, I'd like to share with you because the topic goes like this social order and human rights in prison administration. Uh, how many of you tell me how many of you have visited a prison? Kerala, it is possible, I believe. Can I have some reflections on the chat? I'm a person, I don't, keep lecturing. I'll keep disturbing you. It's a majority no and only one yes so far I have seen. Yes, of course, we have a very vague idea, a very vague idea that, media has projected to us. Like prison is a dump yard, or prison is a hell, prison is this, prison is that. So though we are law graduates, though we are from various backgrounds, and those who are involved in prison kind of work, but still we have an idea that prisons are a heaven, not a heaven. Of course, prisons will not be a heaven because nobody comes into prison, neither the prisoners nor the prison officers. They don't come with willingness to prison. What do I mean by that? Do any of us would like to go to prison?
No.
No, not even me. The one who is teaching the prison officers, though I know prison officers all over the country, but still I don't want to be in a prison even for 24 hours. There is in Sangareddy in Telangana, there is a facility. If you want to experience prison life, you can go there, pay some 500 rupees and stay for a day in a prison and have a feel of it. Okay, they provide you prison food, prison vessels, and they will take out your mobile phones. You have to stay one day without mobile, and whatever actually is provided to prisoners is provided there. So that gives a feel of these kind of experiments have come in prison. Okay, so let us, before starting, I want you to think of prison as another organization, a prison as another institution, a prison as not tamed by the media, but a different place where reformation, rehabilitation, and re-socialization is happening. Prison is not a place of torture anymore because we are in the human rights era. We cannot do according to our whims and fancies. It is not possible at all. Nowadays, a small thing that is happening in prison will affect the entire prison, the prison officer as a whole. So a prison is not a place where, as we think, as we are we get to we have a projection, we are exposed to through media, like a place of torture, punishment, as some few gangs join together, attack some people. It is not, absolutely not possible. Maybe you can have imaginary stories like that, but physically it is not possible. Every area of prison is covered with CCTV footage, CCTV cameras. Okay, except toilets, except toilets and their sleeping areas. In some prisons, for high security reason, even the sleeping area, except toilet, only the including the sleeping area is covered with CCTV cameras. So it is not like, so let us change our attitude towards prison and just look into it in a different perspective. So we are talking about social order and human rights. Of course, the prison has to be in order if human rights are protected, if the human rights of the prisoners are protected. Let me quickly share my screen. Okay, so what do we mean by social order? The totality of structured human interrelationship in a society or a part of it. Here, what we mean by society is prisons. So, some order in prisons. Do anybody know what is this case about? Boxer Vadivelu? Any idea? Don't Google it now. Yeah. This happened in a prison in Chennai around 20-25 years back. Boxer Vadivelu was a very big rowdy element. He was jailed in Chennai jail, the previous Chennai, not the Pural. The Chennai jail was near the railway station earlier. So what happened? This fellow was inside the prison. We always have an attitude that prisoners lie. Prisoners always act. Prisoners always pretend. Okay? We have preconceived ideas. We assume. We have a prejudice that prisoners are like this. No. So what happened? This fellow complained of a stomach pain. What the jailer did, he didn't respond to his complaint. If we are talking about human rights, even then human rights had a watch. When we are talking about human rights, it's our bound duty, even if he is lying, we are supposed to take care of that prisoner and prove that he is lying. Or we may also fail in proving. None of our business. We need not take prisoners very personal. So what happened? This jailer thought this fellow is, he is just cheating. So what he did, he didn't care for it. It was a Saturday evening, he complained. Saturday night also he complained. Usually Saturday nights, nobody, there'll not be much of watch in the prison. So what happened? From Saturday night he was complaining. He had diarrhea. He had stomach pain, upper abdomen pain. In the night he was, having the pain was increasing. Then by 3 a.m., fellow died. The superintendent, there was the prison was unusually calm. So what happened? The superintendent came in the morning, got the news. He also kept that silence. Prisoners also kept that silence. The superintendent, everyone went on rounds inside. From their back, prisoners started coming out. They started coming out. They broke open the jail. They started creating a big confusion, riot. They took that jailer who didn't allow Boxer Vedivel to hospital. They took him into a room and burnt the room with all the records. The jailer was burnt alive. So when the human rights of the prisoner is not respected, there cannot be social order in prison. In any organization for that matter. If husband doesn't respect the human rights of the wife, there cannot be order in the family. If the children rights are not respected, and if you constantly beat the children, there cannot be order in the family. If the husband is beaten constantly by the wife, there cannot be any order. So the same principle applies to prisons also. When the human rights of the prisoners are not respected, whether he is inside the prison or under community supervision, if their rights are not, respected, then there will be confusion, disorder, disorganization, everything that will happen in prison. So finally, what happened? The jail was very old jail, so they burnt it to the extent that they had to change the jail from this premises to, and they gave that building to medical college for reconstruction. So incidents happen if human rights violation happens in prisons. This is how they burnt the entire place. And this is in West Bengal, another problem that came up where prisoners entered into riots. Denial of some interviews for a prisoner, which has turned into a big issue. I put this question for you to think. What do you think is a prison? Is it a punishment center or a rehabilitation center? Can I have some reflections? What is a prison? Is it a
I think
punishment
it's
center or a
most,
rehabilitation center?
I think it is mostly used as a punishment center rather than a rehabilitation center
Okay, yeah,
in practice.
it is both. Yeah, but according to Supreme Court guidelines, prisoners are sent to prison as a punishment, not for punishment. This is the basic principle. Any Indian prison should remember that prisoners are sent to prison as a punishment, not for the punishment. There is this judiciary, there is this mechanism, there is this entire machinery to punish the prisoners. They write what type of punishment and how, who has to, carry it out. The work of prison is just to keep them under custody, care, and rehabilitation. Prison is not a place of punishment. Prison officers are not supposed to punish uh, prisoners. The prisoners are not there for punishment as a punishment. The state has punished him already, sentenced him already, gave the type of sentence, and they have been put in the prison. That itself is counted as punishment. No more cruel methods, no more inhuman treatment, no more no more, cruelty can be extended to prisoners. Who are these prison officers? They are correctional officers. Nowadays, the trend is the thinking has changed from, you know, a jailer to a reformer. What is this academy doing here? Academy of Prisons and Correctional Administration in Vellore, which is training the prison officers of the country. What are we doing? Converting all the prison officers into reformers. Okay? How? They are supposed to do three things in prison: not punish the prisoners, reformation, rehabilitation. Of course, security is very, very important. They have to take care of the security aspects as well as they have to take care of reformation, rehabilitation, and resocialization. All these three things they have to take care of. It is their prime duty. So this is how a prison looks inside. In case those of you have not gone, I think this is a high security ward where the Aluma prisoners were lodged. They are also treated decently. They are also treated with dignity. They are also given an opportunity to rehabilitate themselves. They are also given an invite to reform themselves. They are also given some correctional activities. For example, Perarivalan has undergone, Perarivalan recently released from prison. Nalini was given an opportunity to go through MCA from prison. There is no such, segregation or any partiality towards the prisoners. We treat every prisoner equally. High security, low security, medium security, all prisoners are equal. Equal opportunities given to them for correction. Perarivalan did his, I guess, MCA from prison. He passed his 12th standard. No. He was basically an engineer and he did some course, MCA or something from prison. He did many MBA, I believe, MBA or some PG certificate in, from prison. Everyone is treated equally. Everyone is treated with dignity. Everyone is treated, given equal opportunity to correct themselves. So this is how it looks, and they have to maintain their own barracks, and TV is provided for recreation. They are given proper food, proper clothing, and everything. The neatness is taken care of. So as you all aware, in a prison, there will be under trial prisoners, convicted prisoners, detainees, and four categories. According to National Crime Records Bureau, they have, Just put 4 categories of prisoners: under trial prisoners, convicted prisoners, retinues, and other prisoners. Some background information about Indian prisons is, we have around 5 lakh prisoners, approximately 5 lakh prisoners in the country. I have given the breakup. You can I'll pass on the PPT. You can read it for yourself later. There will be more number of under trials than convicts in any 60-40 ratio will be there in any country. There will be more number of under trial prisoners than convicted prisoners. That is the basic understanding we need to have. And in some countries the prisons will be very less occupied. For example, in Norway they have closed most of the prisons. They are every happiness index Norway is standing first, and they are giving equal opportunities for everyone to get rehabilitated, everything. Their open air prisons are situated near the banks of some river, and they are given a cottage to live by themselves, and if they really get rehabilitated, they are released from there. And a wonderful practice here is there in India, in Rajasthan and UP in some places, where the prisoners are allowed to stay with their families. This is called open air prison, Sanganer. In Sanganer, Rajasthan, there is a prison called open air prison, Sanganer, where the prisoners are allowed to stay with their family. Even the female prisoners and the male prisoners stay together, not literally in one place, but they stay with their families. They go out in the morning, come back in the evening after working. It's not a prison. It will just have one wall. It will just have one wall, nothing else. Because they're staying with their family, obviously, nothing can happen. And these prisoners would have completed 7 years of imprisonment. They would have shown good behavior, so they are selected for this place. In case they show any abnormality, then they'll be put back to the old prison with some punishment and all. This concept is working very well in Rajasthan. Of course, in Tamil Nadu, we wanted to bring that concept to Tamil Nadu. I guess this is a unique thing that is happening in India, which is not happening globally. So Indians are more forward thinking in every aspect of prisoners rehabilitation, thinking of prisoners rights. So these prisoners go out in the morning, come back in the evening. I've seen prisoners paying taxes out of their income. They are not supported by government for food or no expenses by the government. Only that basic structure is built. If they want extra rooms, extra extension of the house, they can do it by themselves. They live there for 7 years or 5 years, then they leave the place. Their children are going out to study. Outsiders are coming inside to play with the children. Okay, the campus is open 24/7. No lock, nothing. Only one office, one staff will be there just to take attendance of prisoners going out and coming in the evening. That's all. No security, nothing. So we are pioneers in respecting the human rights of the prisoners and honoring the sentiments, family sentiments. So this is globally nowhere this system is found. I had an opportunity to interact with the UK prison officers, where I found our system is far better. When prisoners are taken to the court, sometimes they travel 6 hours, 10 hours to have the trial. They were telling us they won't stop the vehicle, even for women prisoners, because they're saying they'll be handcuffed, they'll be taken, no stop. So then I asked, what do you do for nature calls? They are given a bag. They are given a bag. So in case they have, they have to attend to nature calls, they have to use the bag. Vehicle will not stop. What an inhuman practice, right? But for us, We are very human, very much human. And, just give me a moment. So it's a very inhuman practice they are having. But what for us, we stop wherever we want, and we are very very careful about our security also. Very rarely we get people escaping from escorts. That to women prisoners, they don't escape. So when we look into the global perspective, India is far far better in human rights perspective. If you look into the African prisons, there are prisons, Kenyan prisons and other prisons, where prisoners sleep in turns. Right? You sleep for 2 hours, I sleep for 2 hours, the other person sleep for 2 hours. Overcrowding. Even in, I guess, in Sri Lankan prisons, some of the Sri Lankan prisons are overcrowding to the extent of sharing their sleep hours. So, India is far, far better in human rights perspective. So, our capacity is almost, when we look at only few prisons are overcrowded in India by 200% or 300%. Only few prisons, and that is also getting transferred nowadays. They are shifting the prisoners, either the prisoners or shifting a prison and constructing new prisons and moving the prisoners. So out of this 5 lakh prisoners, 4 lakh 68,000 were male prisoners and only 20,000 are female prisoners. Only 70 were transgender in 2020. 2020 is the last prison statistics published by National Crime Records Bureau. And there were 1,427 women prisoners with 1,628 children as on December. And children are given very good care in prisons. They are given special diet. It all starts with the pregnancy of the mother, taking care of the pregnant mother. According to Sudha Ramalingam Committee report and R.K. Upadhyay report and Krishna Iyer Committee report, women prisoners are taken care very well in Indian prison system. And globally, if you look into the guidelines, the Bangkok rules for women prisoners is applied. That is set as standard for the treatment of women prisoners. Right from pregnancy, if the child is born in prison, we don't write that child is born in prison. We give a birth certificate without mentioning that the child is born in prison. With the nearest district hospital, name is mentioned. And proper pregnancy diet is given. Proper pregnancy care is taken. And when the child is born, the child diet plus the delivery diet is given for the mother, and the child is taken care. The child can stay with the mother up to 6 years of age. This is something unique about Indian prisons, where globally, I don't think, even in developed countries, they are not allowing the children to stay with the mothers, because there the system is different. The family system itself is different, because they don't have the attachments, the sentiments we have with our children. Right? I have a cousin in the US. They put the child by 8 months in care home, in a creche, which was something, which I cannot imagine, to leave my child by 8 months. But, they were, proudly sending me, clips about the child dancing, the child doing this, that and all. Child learning this, that and all. I consider it as, human rights violation actually, though it is developed country or underdeveloping country. Whatever it is, a child should not be denied its childhoodness. That is what is my perspective as a social worker. So the child in the prison, along with the mother, is taken care of very well. Proper care is taken for the education of the child. Creatures in the prison, basic education is given, and other facilities like play school for children. In Tihar and all, if you see, a pakka established play school is there. You won't feel like going inside a prison. If you look into the play school, It will not be like a prison. You will find more facilities than the outside school, because we are very careful about the child not getting spoiled. Basically, the prison environment is very contagious, and one can, understand there'll be a lot of negative energy inside the prisons, because nobody is inside the prison by choice. It is by force. Even the prison officers, they apply for police or some other exam. Finally, they take very less marks, in 2-3 marks difference. They will be, they will be landing in prisons. So neither the prison officer nor the prisoners are interested to stay in the prison. So it's full of negativity. Okay, there'll be grumbling, there'll be murmuring, there'll be complaints, there'll be, depression, there'll be anxiety, there'll be stress, all negativity around. So we are very careful that it should not, affect the life of the child. So we take utmost care to bring all sort of programs into the prison. And women prisoners are also, their social stigma is more. If a woman commits a crime, she'll be neglected by her family as well as the in-laws family. She'll be neglected by many people. Okay. Whereas if a man commits, the family will be supporting the man, actually. In the sense, at least they will give moral support. Okay, you have committed something. Let us, hope for some reformation. So that is how the family will take it. Right? So, in this scenario, prisons of the women prisoners are given very good occupational therapies, like tailoring, embroidering, bakery training, how to, work in a bakery, how to actually, how to bake breads, biscuits. All these trainings are in different places, different this thing, and this beautician courses. Um, even for male prisoners, we have hairstylist courses. And two types of programs are right now going on in Tamil Nadu and Telangana. Tamil Nadu Pattam project. Pattam is prisoners' attitude transformation project, where the first time petty offenders are taken care of through this project. In this project, the first time petty offenders are put in a group, and they'll be given 15 days orientation. 15 days orientation on different topics: how to control emotions, how to control anger, how to very direct topics, how to control the emotion that brings criminality. Excuse me. How to how not to disturb others, how to carry on with your own business, and also skill orientation. Whatever skills they know, extra orientation will be given on that topic. So what happens after 15 days? We did this trial for 4 years. Initially, the recidivism rate, returning back to prison, the recidivism rate was 64%. And after 4 years of this orientation, we found the recidivism to be 0. It's an experiment very successfully running in Tamil Nadu Prison Department. With the help of an NGO, PRISM, PRISM, run by a senior counsel of the High Court of Chennai. And the current Chief Justice of High Court is supporting this project and helping us in many ways. Me and my husband are trainers in this project. We are training the prisoners to run these programs inside the prison under the supervision of one supervisor from this PRISM NGO. So it is a peer education program. And we have a project for police officers, Paravai, where we counsel these police officers, we train these police officers, head warders, head constables, writers in the station as how to deal with this first time petty offenders in case they come across first time petty offenders like ticketless travelers or somebody who has looted something very minimal amount, from the sometimes this theft cases will be a mental disorder, kleptomania, right? You catch him and put him in prison, he will do it again and again until you deal with him mentally, until you give him a psychiatric treatment. So, first time offenders, we can give them one more chance. Petty offenders. I'm not talking about heinous crimes. Petty offenders. So, we educate the police about this, train them about this. Many of the offenses are addiction offenses, okay, drug related offenses. So, in case somebody is doing some drug related offenses uh, uh, and uh, and it is the first time, petty, not very heinous, then the police can put him in a de-addiction center. This kind of orientation is given for preserving the rights of the prisoners. Um, we are doing this. Right to speedy trial, right not to be arrested. In certain things, certain areas, we are working, and in Tamil Nadu, it is successful. Like Pattam, there is one project called Unnati in Telangana prisons, where the prisoners are given opportunity to retrospect themselves and move towards a attitudinal change. This is again 15 days program concentrating on attitudinal change in the prisoners. If you look at the age group of the prisoners, 30 to 50 years, it is very pathetic to know 20 to 50 or 20 to 40 years is the prime age where people are supposed to work, earn, and establish themselves. That is the age group that is more into prisons. And only 13% are above 50 years. Below 50 years are more in population. Education, yes, prisoners are given, taken care very seriously. In Tamil Nadu, there is a scheme that if a prisoner comes and he puts his thumb impression, then there is a policy that he will go out signing the register. So they take all efforts to educate him, at least to sign his own signature. And of course, we all are aware that prisoners have become doctors, prisoners have become engineers, prisoners have become computer literates, prisoners have become vice chancellor of universities. There was one, I think he is retired now, Manonmaniam Sundarnar University, former VC, was an ex-prisoner. Okay, he got education from prison, and later he did his PhD and joined the university and has become a vice chancellor. And of course, we take care of the foreign prisoners. Regarding foreign prisoners, as soon as they come through courts, we inform the embassy, we take care of their food, whatever preference they ask. They are given the type of food they select, and the facilities, whatever is possible is given to them. So when we focus on the rights, all rights that is written in the Constitution applies to prisoners also, because prisoners are treated as human beings. Just because he is come to prison, whatever may be his crime, whatever may be his crime, we are not bothered about it. Whatever may be the issue, we are treating him as human being. He has not lost the identity to be a human being. He cannot be treated as non-person just because he has committed something wrong. And 70% of the prisoners are not very heinous crimes, emotional outburst, or need-based crimes like financial needs, economic needs, social injustice, and family issues. Okay, some rights denied outside, that reflects as crime. Okay, even murders happen when rights are denied. Even murders happen when emotions are triggered. Okay, there is one prisoner who used to come to academy and work and all. He and his brother came to a wedding in Vellore, to attend a wedding from Bangalore to Vellore. Previous night, there is this booze party. Hmm? They all had, and they were pushing each other and playing. Suddenly, there was some issue. One of them spoke very cheap about other person, very low about other person. So the the person who talked was beaten by somebody. The elder brother was seeing this. He just came running without knowing what has happened. He just gave him one hit. That fellow died. So both the brothers are inside the prison, Vellore prison. Highly talented carpenters, excellent carpenters. Had they been outside, they would have kept a separate shop. They would have flourished so well. The family is dependent on them, but emotional outburst. Alcohol has led them to prison. Okay, so we consider them case by case. So this Tamil Nadu prisons has got psychologists, social workers, counselors, welfare officers, entire gamut of this, welfare system, correctional system is working very well in Tamil Nadu prisons. So a prisoner will go through the psychologist, social worker, welfare officer, and a counselor. All four people will be attending the prisoner to analyze his background and what is his needs. So all fundamental rights are applicable except for this freedom restriction, freedom of movement restriction, that is restricted by the court. Except those that is restricted by the court, case by case, other fundamental rights are applicable. Do they have right to vote? No, not yet in India. Any prisoner who's in the prison doesn't have any right to vote. Right to privacy? Yes, to some extent. Okay, we cannot give him a room and ask him to lock the room and stay inside the room. It is not possible. We have to lock it from outside. We cannot allow him to lock from inside, which is not possible. Do you allow a screen? No, not possible. Because if we allow a screen, there is a possibility of committing suicide. If in case he goes, he falls ill, there is a possibility of him dying. So to avoid such, emergencies and avoid untoward incidents, we don't give full right to privacy. And right against yes, we have stopped solitary confinement in the Western countries. Solitary confinement is still practiced, but whereas in India we are not using solitary confinement. Barfetters, no, we are not handcuffing, we are not barfetting, we are not using chains anymore. Everything is taken off, except for in circumstances where there is a need to, while escorting, when there is a need to do it, they are doing it. Yeah, right to life, of course, healthcare is taken care of very well. Every central prison has a hospital inside the prison. There is a full-time doctor working in the prison, a psychiatrist visiting every 15 days. There is a full-time male nurse or female nurse wherever possible, and compounder. Prisoners are also trained in first aid. So a Pakka hospital, even dental unit is there. In prisons like Tihar, there is a full-fledged hospital, completely full-fledged hospital and care. And right to personal liberty to some extent. They cannot, their letters are scrutinized. Whatever they write will be scrutinized, but we don't deny the right to write, but we have some scrutiny and we do it. Right to live with human dignity, of course. They are given clean clothing, they are given good food, hygiene is maintained, their nutrition is maintained, standards are maintained, and we advise the prison officers not to call them by their numbers but by their names. So that much care we are taking. Right to health and medical treatment, of course, we are doing. Right to speedy trial, yes. Right to legal aid, yes. We have this District Legal Aid Society services, DLSA, working in the prisons. This Patam project is supported by the DLSA. They are only paying the prisoners for conducting these workshops. So, in consonance with the DLSA and SLSA, we are able to be successful in rehabilitation programs. And this para-legal volunteer system is prevailing in Tamil Nadu prisons, where the prisoners are trained in certain, basic legal things. And they help the prisoners how to write petition, how to move for bail. Basic legal orientation is given, and they help them in all this court proceedings, how to apply this appeal, this everything. So they are called paralegal volunteers. If the bail is delayed, they will find out what is happening. All these things they are taking care of. It's like like paramedical unit. There is a paralegal unit helping the prison officers. So some of the important judgments I've put in the slides, where uh, uh, there were judgments which has led to the seeds of human rights. So this is about that the prisoners does not, the prison should not deprive the convicts of all the fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution. Constitutional rights are applicable to prisoners also, except for few. And also right to life by Article 21 applies to prisoners also. And in Sunil Batra versus Delhi administration, habeas corpus to protect his other inherent rights. Europe was first to introduce habeas corpus and the jury system. The fact that a person is legally in prison does not prevent the use of habeas corpus. And Prem Shankar Shukla versus Delhi administration, the court held that no person shall be handcuffed, fettered routinely for convenience of the custodian's escort. In Upadhyay State versus State of Andhra Pradesh, right to fair treatment and right of judicial remedy are prerequisites of administration of prison justice. In Hussain Cartoon, very famous judgment, court adopted a dynamic and constructive role with regard to prison reforms. Court, apart from the other things, stressed on the improvements of conditions of prisons in India. Actually, in South Indian prisons are far, far better, very spacious, very much reformation oriented, correction oriented. We have set up industries, factories everywhere. We have lots of things happening in South Indian prisons, whereas when compared to North Indian, the tip of the country has all programs, whereas in the middle of part, in some few prisons only, these are all prevailing. Other parts where there is congestion in prisons, especially in Maharashtra, Mumbai, there is this Arthur Road prison where only 400 prisoners can be there. There are 4,000, 8,000 prisoners are there. Sometimes it is even 8,000, 10,000 when there is agitation. No, it cannot be expanded. That prison cannot be expanded. So they are planning to go for a new prison. In some places, here and there is of course overcrowding, which is managed by construction of new prisons. But again, the question of course, protecting the rights of the prisoners is very important. But if a country is building more prisons, that also means otherwise. So there is this, ambiguity always, to be or not to be. Should we go for more prisons? Should we spend on constructing more prisons? Or should we expand the existing? So these are some of the, million-dollar questions which goes unanswered. But in some cases, yes, we are convinced and we go for new prisons. So I put case by case. I'll share it later. Why punishment? Definitely, we all know. Earlier, it was retribution, incapacitation, deterrence. But now the theory is rehabilitation and reintegration. These are the two focus: rehabilitation, reintegration. Reformation, rehabilitation, reintegration. Reforming the attitude of the person, rehabilitating him with some skills, putting him back to his society, that is to his family, reintegration. This is the theory prevailing now. So, what are the challenges? As I told you, overuse of pre-trial detention for anything and everything. That is why we are working on pre-trial. Pre-trial means, not to arrest first-time offenders, petty offenders. Anything and everything, you put them into prison. This is one of the prisons. I think this is Thailand or something like that. It's not India. Yeah, Philippines. For anything and everything, we should not use prisons. There are other alternatives prevailing in other countries. Like I told you, they can be taken to a de-addiction center. They can be taken to a rehabilitation center, occupational therapy center. They can be taken to, they can be given alternatives. In Tamil Nadu, there was a recent judgment. There is a, ban on bike racing in Tamil Nadu, in the roads. But two people of high stature of, minister's sons or something, they had a bike race in the night in the, Marina Road. So the court clearly gave a judgment that these two people have to be posted in a government hospital for 1 month. They have to work along with the peon in the emergency department. The attender, not peon, attender. These people have to carry the bodies that are coming to emergency. They have to have a feel of what is happening there, so that in future they'll never think of bike races. Instead, if you put these fellows inside the prison, there'll be 4 fellows encouraging bike race. So they'll change the state, they'll change the country, they'll go and do it there. One day or other, they will come as a dead body. So alternatives to imprisonment is something we have to think of. That's a challenge that is lying in front of us. I'm throwing that to you also. Think of alternatives. Suggest. Speak wherever you can. Present. Throw the idea. Write an article. Especially for women prisoners. If a woman is imprisoned, the whole family is imprisoned. Imagine if the woman has a girl child who's in the age of puberty. Imagine a woman who is having a 7-year-old child or a small child, where the woman is not willing to keep the child inside the prison and nobody to care outside. Most of the crimes committed by women are emotional. The husband beats, she also, returns back, the husband dies under the influence of alcohol. One case I'd like to tell you here. The husband was constantly troubling the wife. So one day she decided to administer poison to her children, and she also wanted to take poison. So she did that. 3-year-old child, 12-year-old daughter, and I think 14 or 13 years. All took poison in the night. Morning they woke up. The child alone died. These 3 escaped death. The lady is booked under attempt to suicide, murder, every charge on earth, and she is sent to jail. It is very obvious from the arguments that the woman couldn't tolerate, the cruelty of the husband. Actually, the husband who has to be punished, and she couldn't provide for the needs of the children, even for food. Whatever she's earning is not enough because husband is taking it and drinking. So she's not able to provide for the children. She is not able to see them starving every day. So she administered poison. So finally what happened? 2 children were outside. 2 girl children, 12 and 13 years. This lady came inside. She became mentally ill because child died. That affected her brain. She became a schizophrenic. Now look at this. Given this scenario, what are the alternatives will you suggest? Many cases are like this. Not every person inside the prison whether it is male or female prison. Every case is unique. Every prisoner is unique. Every history is unique. Right? Same principle doesn't apply to everyone. So if you look into the international instruments, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UNDHR, Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman Treatment, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Standard Minimum Rules for the Tribunal, which is now called as Nelson Mandela Rules, basic, the Bangkok Rules, the Beijing Rules, the Nelson Mandela Rules are applicable in prisons. So I've given each and everything, a summary of Universal Declaration, right to equality, freedom from discrimination, right to life, freedom from slavery, freedom from torture. All this applies to prisoners also. How much time do I have still?
Ma'am, you could take till 7 o'clock.
Yeah, ma'am, Safi Mohan here. There is no problem at all. You can take your own time. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I have an engagement by 7 o'clock. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Your class is very interesting. That is the reason why I said.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Probably some other day I can.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, right to free movement in and out of the country, which cannot be given to prisoners. Certain restrictions, but all applies. Around 30 rules. The International Covenants on Civil and Political Rights, core conventions, Mandela rules. So I've given the timeline of Mandela rule and everything. So what are the alternatives you have to think of to imprisonment? Diversion from crime. Alternatives to pre-trial detention, which is now we are thinking as Paravai project for the police. They are the ones who are booking the case. So we are trying to divert. The actual diversion program goes to police. Alternatives to pre-trial detention. Alternatives to sentencing. Okay, instead of sentencing, like the one I referred to work in the emergency unit along with the attender. So that creates a kind of fear in the person. That is what is actually required. Why do we punish a person? To install fear, to create a sort of awareness. The idea behind punishment is nothing but to create a install fear. And early release from prison, no, we are keeping them for the recent Perarivalan release. That is a different file. Yeah, every prisoner cannot be treated equally. Depends on case. But prisoners are lying in prisons for 20 years, 15 years, 13 years, more than 20 years. So can we think of early release from prison? Depending on the crime file, not everyone to be treated same. Decriminalization of certain acts, like ticketless traveler cannot be criminalized. Okay, the addict, unless he possesses, if he is possessing less than 70 grams of ganja or what, ganja 70 grams or something lesser than that, can be decriminalized. It's definitely for personal use. So certain things, certain sections can be decriminalized so that we can avoid overcrowding, so that we can think of alternatives to imprisonment. So I put some brief history of prison reform. You can read for yourself. So I put all that, whatever I've spoken. In Indian prisons, we have parole provisions. Prisoners are given parole liberally to visit their families, stay with their families. And family visits also are allowed in Indian prisons. And we have telephone facility. These all contribute to the re-socialization, reconnecting with the family. Telephone facility. During COVID, we have given even video call facility. We have allowed them to use phones to 2 numbers. They can use video calls. And we have emergency parole, ordinary parole, and all these systems in place to connect them back to their family. We have campus interviews going on in prisons to put them in proper occupation after release. We have discharged prisoners aid society in India, which is functioning very well in Tamil Nadu. Again, Tamil Nadu is the pioneer for many reforms in India. Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Andhra. They are contemporaries. Also, they have a competition among themselves. So one reform is brought in. The Telangana has introduced petrol bunks in prisons. Okay, run by the prisoners. Indian Oil Corporation has appointed the prisoners serving sentences as petrol bunk people, petrol bunk workers. So now, if you come to Tamil Nadu, you can see prison petrol bunks. Even in Palayam Kotta, if you travel, you see prison petrol bunks. If you see one, please go to that bunk and get petrol from that bunk. You will have pure petrol, and the weight will be very what do you call it? The accuracy will be there. And in Andhra and Telangana also, lots and lots of petrol bunks. Every district has at least 4 or 5 petrol bunks. In Andhra and Telangana, they are even employing released prisoners. Prisoners who go out can be employed in petrol bunks. There is a petrol bunk run by women prisoners in Telangana, Hyderabad. And also there is an exclusive women prison for female prisoners in Trivandrum, run by female officers, and it is first of its kind in the country. Totally they are free inside that house. They don't run out of the prison. They enjoy all like a house. They'll be having their, they'll be cooking their meals. They'll be there'll be no restriction. It's like one bungalow where inside they are all there. No locking, nothing. They behave very well. And psychiatric care is given to them. Work programs are there. And Board of Visitors system. Board of Visitors are a group of people from the community along with the government officials like the district judge, the collector. They visit the prison anytime. They can report whatever they see. So that, it is called oversight mechanism to ensure that prisoners are treated with dignity and worth. So, Board of Visitors we have, and we have advisory board. I was part of Tamil Nadu advisory board, pre-release committee. The collector, the judge, and the probation officer, the superintendent of the prison, and the ex-officio member. There is one from the community where I was there. We decide on the release of the way back in 2010. We had a committee for this Rajiv Gandhi case. And if you look into the prisons, mental health screening is done at the time of admission or within 15 days of their admission. Proper psychiatric care is given. Medical screening is a must for all. National Human Rights Commission has prescribed it, made it mandatory that every prisoner who enters, not because of COVID, even before that, every prisoner who enters prison has to be medically screened for any diseases or torture by the police, which was not recorded in this Felix case, Phoenix or this Nagarkoil case. That is why such a big incident happened. Had they taken it serious, because the bruises were not outside, it was inside. The admission was, they were taken to the jail in the night. So these fellows were little slack. They didn't record what has happened, whether they were beaten and all that. So prisoners are protected from every side. front, back, side, every side. If they behave very well, they are given remission also. They are given marks for their good behavior. So every month their period will be reduced. When they go to open air prison for 1 day remission. So that means if they have 3 months to stay, 1.5 months it will be taken out from their punishment period, like subtracted from their period. So if his release is within 6 months, by 3 months he'll be released. So such kind of practices are taking place in prisons. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
അങ്ങനെ നോക്കുമ്പോൾ നമുക്കിത് മനസ്സിലാവും. Article 80 is what about the composition of the council of composition of the council?